I've seen, and I don't know, you probably have seen it too, where when you go talk to that extra person down the line, you find that your report's actually missing information too. Where, because when you talk about, well, how are you actually going to use this information? Well, I'm going to send this email to this person, send this email to this person. I'm going to say, oh, okay, wow, maybe this shouldn't be a report. Maybe this should be an automated report, that skips
Yeah.
that person and goes and
Yeah.
asks for information. It's more of an automated information request rather than an actual report. The report's not even formatted right. It doesn't even have the right information on it or something for them to act on
Hmm.
quickly. How does that? Have you run across scenarios like that where that second person makes you even change the requirements? that
Yeah, I'd say more times than not. It's when you talk to that second person or the person that is actually going to be using the site or the one that's getting the report, you realize that like, oh, we are missing requirements or we were missing, some in some cases, oh, we're missing an entire step or we're creating an extra step that doesn't need to be there. You go talk to the poor accountant that's getting all of your invoices that are now generated in a nice report from this brand new system. And they're like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to take these lines from this Excel sheet report you gave me, and I'm going to painstakingly manually type them into our accounts receivable system, and then send those out for us to get paid. And we realize like, oh, we've created a step for you. Can we automate that piece? Or or in cases where we give a report to somebody and they're like, well, this is awesome, but why don't I have like the actual dates on? Oh yeah, that's a good point. We aren't storing that. So now we've created a new requirement that we need somewhere earlier in the line that we missed and had to do some redevelopment work on possibly because we didn't talk to all the people that needed to be involved at the start.
one of my favorite ones to discover is you've got some kind of an approval step. Like I can think of one customer that we worked with. Well, we need to review every quote that goes out, and we say, okay, well, how often are you changing or unapproving one of those quotes? Say, well, hardly ever. Say, okay, well, so it's a process that goes through this person, and we're going to spend time automating that process, building screens for it, and that person is going to always press approve. They almost don't even need an edit or an unapprove button. That's a perfect example of a scenario where it's like, well, when would you, in the rare cases, have something? It's like, well, if it's this special product line or the special cost, if it's above a
Yeah.
threshold, say, well, why don't we just have only those go to you, and then you can just see a report of everything else that's in summary, rather than you having to click on 200 individual quotes throughout the month. Why don't you instead just see a summary report that's in a nice graph compared to budget or actuals or something like that? That might make a lot more sense. Um, but yeah, it's that digging a little deeper into the how are you using this system? Why are you using it this way? That's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and it's so important. While you were saying that, I remembered like an example where we were working with a customer and we set out to make like a scheduling application so they could schedule people arriving to pick stuff up from their warehouse or whatever. And then in talking to the actual people that were ending up using it, we determined like, oh, that's not even really a problem. Like they schedule fine. What is a problem is that they don't have a way to report on when something arrives damaged or when something gets picked up damaged. So the system morphed within an afternoon of talking to people from a scheduling application to a damage reporting system. And that ended up being way more beneficial. So had we never talked to the people, we would have just added a new step to their job, like here, schedule that you were already doing, but just do it again in a different system. So that talking to those end users, the actual people executing on it, is so important.